to make sure you're in the right group. This is plant-based therapies. It's a support group for weight loss, disease prevention, and reversal. And I want to let you guys know that these plant-based therapies are extremely powerful, and I'm not kidding. So if you are on any medication, I want you to contact your doctor on Monday and let them know what you're doing. And your doctor's probably going to have to lower your medication immediately, because if you are on any diabetic medication that will lower your blood sugar is going to get lower. So you're going to need to lower that medication. In addition, if you're on blood pressure lowering medication. So, you know, I'm not a doctor, so whatever you're taking, let your doctor know about it. It's really, really important. So some doctors that understand the correlation between nutrition and health sometimes take their diabetic patients off all their diabetes medication and all the other heart medications as well, because like if you have, you know, like statins or anything, it can be dangerous. And also the diabetic medications, it keeps people fat, and that will hurt your progress as well. So when, you know, they will actually make you gain weight. And you know, insulin, if you take too much insulin, more than you need, you'll get heavier. So just information that's really important. Okay, so if you have a cell phone, if you could turn it on, you know, mute or silent or text, or if you don't want to, if you get a call, if you could just step away so that we don't hear you. We don't want to hear your private conversation, and you may not want us to hear your private conversation as well. And who am I? Okay, so my name is Nina. I live in Penasquitos, Park Village. I've lived here for 21 years. Me and my husband, we have a house here. And I'm 52 years old. Let's see. What? I was hoping you guys would say no. Make me feel good, right? Like, yeah, okay, I do that too. All right. And I don't really, I mean, I have some good genes, but I have some genes that are not so great, you know. So if you have, you know, bad genes, you're not destined for illness. So we have what's called triggers. So doing certain things, eating certain things will trigger certain diseases and conditions. And I'm here today to share with you information to, if you have an illness, we can either reverse it completely, we never call it a cure, but we can make the symptoms less, okay? So, all right, I am a certified personal trainer. I have a certification in strength and conditioning. I have a certification in fitness nutrition and a certification in plant-based therapies. So there's that. I'm also a publisher of 4 books, and I've been working on a 5th one. And this is my baby. It's called the High 5 Diet. You have a lot of information in here, much more than I can share with you in an hour. I'd be here for a whole week chatting away. This is 300 pages. It has my favorite recipes that even before I started doing this, people were telling me that I should have a cookbook. So I just put everything in here. So we've got healthy cheat meals and and everything's dairy-free in here, okay? So, all right. So what I thought we would do is we would go around the group and would share first. So everyone's here for a certain reason. And, oh goodness, I'm dirty. So certain things we are interested in more than others. For me, my 3 interests is type 1 diabetes, because I am a type 1 diabetic, and erythromelalgia, and Raynaud's. So I thought we could go quickly around and just say what conditions that you are interested in. It doesn't mean that you have these, but maybe a family member or just something that you're curious about. Really interesting how certain foods, we all know they cause inflammation, but they can cause it in areas that we are weak in. Like, we all have a weakest link. So if someone has rheumatoid arthritis, their weakest link is their joints. So people who have other conditions, if we cut down the inflammation, the symptoms will lessen and sometimes stop. Stress can make us sick. And I know that because I had jobs where they were just, I felt like I was sentenced to hell, and my bosses were the devil, and they would terrorize me at night. I would have nightmares. So it's like I could never get away. So that stress and figuring out how to get rid of it, or at least lower it. The doctors, they are not trained in nutrition, and if they are, it's only a couple hours, and they only tell them little basic things. You guys already know more than the doctors do, because the doctors are told unless there's a pill or a surgery, there is no cure. And so they don't believe it because they weren't taught in school, or they don't have time. And then if they do have time to educate people, and really they need like an hour at least to tell people exactly what to do and not to do, they have so many patients, they don't have the time. And for the people that they have told do this, they got discouraged because the people didn't follow their suggestions, and they just got frustrated and they just stopped suggesting. So, because I asked my endocrinologist, since I'm type 1 diabetic, you know, why is it only me and one other person that's able to manage their blood sugars and lose the weight and get healthy? And he explained that he just gave up. And I said, you can't do that to your patients. You need to explain. And he's such a nice guy, but yeah. But anyways, all right.
Well,
so
I don't know exactly what the like legal stuff is now, but at one point it was illegal for doctors, Western medicine, if they're in a certain hospital or whatever, they couldn't even say anything about a lot of things, and there's probably still
yes,
a list of no-nos now.
Now she's got a fabulous point. Now it's not illegal for a doctor to share nutrition.
You can't prescribe eat apples and vegetables.
They actually can. They can actually write a prescription for apples and pears and yeah. But the hospitals don't make money on this. They make money. That's their bottom line. You know, and that's you know, the pharmaceutical companies, they're all pushing their agenda. And so there's a lot of misinformation out there. But I want to tell you my story. I'll try to see if I can share it as quickly as possible, so you understand where I'm coming from. And I'm not just like this person who's like, you know, lucky and can do whatever and eat whatever. It's not true at all. I was actually born with a severe dairy allergy, and so allergic to the protein in dairy. So I was sick so much of my childhood, and it was like when I would go to a Starbucks and they frothed the milk, I felt like I was having a heart attack. It was hard for me to breathe. So if I had just a little bit of butter in something that was put in by accident, like when I go to a restaurant, even though I tell them I'm allergic to dairy, I can't have even the slightest amount, I would be throwing up for hours and then pass out. So, and then I got teased a little bit in school for my allergies, and people would make fun of me for my lunches. And then some people would want my lunch. And I would say, no, that's your own food, that's mine. And they were like, what is that? But yeah, you had a question?
No, there was a hummingbird right here.
Oh, I thought there was like some terrible thing that was going to land on my head.
Just a hummingbird poop, maybe.
That's all right. That'll be entertaining. So I also had asthma. So when I would go to people's homes, I would get nervous if they had a cat, and I would get very sick. And, you know, I was a kid, and my mom would have to come and pick me up from friends' homes because I couldn't breathe. And if you have then these two conditions that I just mentioned, these are autoimmune. If you have an allergy, food allergy, any type of allergy, that's autoimmune. Asthma, autoimmune. So yeah, so if you have autoimmune conditions, if you keep putting yourself in a state of sickness by eating or doing things that are not good for you, you end up with more autoimmune conditions. So I was already set up for disease by birth. And that, talk about bad genes, for sure. So when I was in my 30s, I got the chicken pox. And as an adult, you can die from it. I got really, really sick, and what made it worse is that I was on vacation, and I got these, hives all over my body, and then we had to quit our vacation and go home, and it was just, itching and pain, and then I went to the doctor, and they gave me, medication, and I ended up vomiting so profusely that the blood vessels in my eyes burst. I had bloody eyes, the capillaries and here exploded. So I was like, I need to be on what was the X-Files, because I am so hideous. I would literally take my hair and brush it in front of my face because I was frightening. And I was in so much pain, I didn't know if I was gonna make it. So what happened to me is I started losing weight really dramatically. And people were yelling at me, "You need to eat. You look disgusting." They would literally tell me, "You look disgusting." My friends would tell me that. And I kind of like the attention. I know that's a little twisted, but when people start showing you a lot of attention, it feels kind of good. And so I kind of like being emaciated and really skinny. I went to a new doctor, and he said, "There's something wrong with you. You're in your 30s. You don't look well." I felt fine. Well, what happened was, when I had the chicken pox, it attacked my pancreas, and I got autoimmune. My body was trying to fight it, so my body was attacking it and my own pancreas, and it was attacking my pancreatic beta cells, and I became a type 1.5 diabetic. So I wasn't hospitalized. So type 1 is where they produce no insulin. So I still had some remaining beta cells. So my body was still producing insulin, so I could still function, but my body wasn't producing enough insulin. So if you're a diabetic and you don't have enough insulin, you start getting really thin, detrimentally thin. And because the insulin, what does insulin do? It takes fat and puts the fat into your cells. So maybe you've heard about teenagers who wanted to lose weight and they were diabetic. They stopped taking their insulin. So it's not a good thing. So, all right, so talked about that. Okay, and then, and so I changed my diet. I started eating less carbohydrates and more protein. And my doctor said, my endocrinologist said, you need to don't eat so much fruit. So I was like, oh, bummer. I can't eat a half a watermelon now. And so I was eating more protein, and everything was protein and fat, protein and fat. Well, you eat that and you get fat. So it was even harder for me to lose weight. So I went from skinny to overweight, and then just this teeter-totter back and forth with the blood sugar control. And then you feel like, is anyone here on diabetic medication? No, so you don't relate. Well, you're on this medication, you go into the state where you have really low blood sugar, you feel like you're gonna die. So, and you crave carbohydrates. So what did I crave? Candy, tortilla chips. And then you go really high, and then you don't feel good, and then you crash low. So you're always in the state of feeling terrible. You get really dizzy, and you can fall down, and you get depressed and lethargic because your blood sugar is too high. So, and then people who are overweight, they have insulin resistance, even though their blood sugar numbers may look fine. Well, what's going on is your pancreas is working overtime and pushing out more and more insulin. So you may have good blood sugar, but you're burning out your pancreas, and you're setting yourself up for type 2 diabetes in the future. So what may be okay now, if you're overweight, I guarantee that pancreas is working too much. So we're gonna share information so that your pancreas will survive your whole life. And so you can eat as many carbs as you want. All right, so in my 40s, I was following, what the doctor was saying. I'd be eating lots of meat, lots of fat, bringing the carbs down. I ended up with 2 additional autoimmune conditions, and they're very rare. You probably never heard of it. One's called Raynaud's, and it's spelled Raynaud's. So people mispronounce it all the time. The other one is called erythromelalgia, extremely rare. So a couple of years ago, I was at the gym, and this is prior to COVID. I was a personal trainer, and I had all my clients, and all of a sudden, I had problems holding things, and I couldn't walking, and I was having my fingers and my toes were swelling and burning. I could show you photos. They're absolutely disgusting. They were huge and swollen. I had to leave work. I had to go home. I had to lay down, and I started wearing gloves at the gym to protect my hands. But I thought, this is really weird. It's affecting my feet. I couldn't, my feet were killing me. They were swelling, they were turning red, and it got to the point where I couldn't type sometimes. Just tapping my finger on the mouse was so painful. And I thought, oh my gosh, it's my medication. It's the side effects. There's phenols, PHENOLS, and insulin, and what that does, it preserves the insulin, but it also is cytotoxic. So I went to the podiatrist, and I said, what is wrong with my feet? And then he said, oh my gosh, there's phenols in your insulin. He said, I had no idea. And I said, why? What's the big deal? And he says, I use phenols to kill nerves in people's feet. I was like, oh my gosh, it's doing that inside my entire body. So it's systemic. It's throughout my body. These phenols, they're damaging all my nerves. And so I thought, I'm gonna get off the insulin. I'm just gonna exercise like crazy. I'm just gonna eat lots of fat, and I'm just gonna try not to eat any carbohydrates. Well, it got worse and worse and worse. And my husband had to buy me these gloves and booties because I literally felt like I was on fire. They were so red. And so we put ice packs on my feet and my hands. I couldn't sleep in bed, and I thought my fingers were going to literally explode. I would call my doctors and nurses, and they would say, you need to go to the ER. And I was afraid. I thought they're gonna amputate my fingers and my toes. So I just spent hours and hours just reading books. I would read a book a week on nutrition, on autoimmune. I wanted to save my life because I wanted to save my digits. And so I found that these people were reducing their neuropathy and getting better blood flow by cutting down the fat, all fat, especially saturated fat from animals. And so I thought, oh my gosh, I'm doing the wrong thing. And then I found out I can eat carbs again. Oh my gosh, I love carbs, like potatoes. Like, I love potatoes. And I thought, I'm gonna do it. And I completely switched. I was eating a vegan ketogenic diet, and I switched it to this whole food plant-based diet where I can eat lots of carbs, lots of potatoes, and as much fruit as I want. And I thought, my goodness. And then this is great. I started feeling better, and the pain started going away. And it's weird. I was on this diet where I was eating, greens and like nuts and seeds, and it was very limiting and horrible and tasted awful. And I was still overweight. And here I am eating this ketogenic diet, and I wasn't losing weight. I started eating a bunch of carbs, and my weight was dropping so fast. I got too skinny, and I actually got down to 85 pounds. And you were saying it, and other people, my family members were saying it, is you are too thin. So I started adding the insulin, and I was fine. I was like, oh my gosh. And I was exercising 3 hours a day on this ketogenic diet, and I couldn't lose weight, and I was in so much pain. So I added carbs, I cut back on the cardio, and then I started getting better, healthier, gaining that lost weight, getting my muscle back. So And my husband and I watched a movie. It's called The Game Changers. Have any of you watched that? Okay. I've watched it 3 times.
It's Netflix.
Yeah, so
Is it a documentary?
yes, so you can actually watch it on YouTube for free, but put that in your notes. Everybody needs to watch The Game Changers. It's my opinion. You don't have to do anything I tell you to do, but I've watched it 3 times, and it's amazing. So what they found is, so they had these 3 men, these football players, and they had them eat a meal. So it was, I believe it was tacos. Like, you have chicken, you have beef, and you have pork. So they had them test their erections and their blood viscosity, and so they had that tested. Then the next day, their blood was all cloudy because of the fat from that one meal. And they also found that their erections were not so good. The next day they completely changed it. It was like bean burritos. And their blood was clean. And their erections were off the charts, like hundreds times. And you could see their faces. They were like so embarrassed. But that just shows that what happens here, we'll just say here, affects here and here. So it affects your heart too. So yeah, so when these men, if a man has ED, that can be reversed by reducing or eliminating the saturated animal fats and lowering all fats. So yeah, so that was really fascinating. All right.
World-renowned fat foods, some of which we will.
All right, so let's see. Oh, and so what the movie also shows, that there are a lot of athletes. They do crazy stuff to get their edge in sport, and they need to heal quicker. And so they started changing their diets, so getting rid of all animal products, and they were able to gain muscle. Their bodies were able to repair much quicker. And I mean, these are incredible athletes. And I don't know if everyone knows this, but Venus Williams, she eats no dairy, no animal products, and she's a badass, and she's got amazing muscle. Like I'm jealous. Like, look how beautiful her biceps are. Yeah, and then Colin Kaepernick, no animal products at all. So these are really people say, oh, people, if you don't eat your animal protein, if you don't eat your beef, you're going to be weak. No way. These people are strong.
What's really significant is that for endurance athletics, the plant-based help them go for longer.
Yeah, you can. The long distance runners, they can run longer. So, okay. So, okay. Let's see. And what we also learned is, animal flesh kills beta cells. And so they're seeing more and more children with type 1 diabetes. So it's like, goodness, please don't feed your baby animal milk, breast milk, if you're, and try not to do that. So that was horrifying when I learned that. As we know, animal protein, it contains saturated animal fat, it contains cholesterol and heme iron. Our bodies were not meant to consume large amounts of that. And some people can't consume it at all because their bodies just attack themselves. So those are people with MS, with rheumatoid arthritis, and lupus. They have a little bit of that. And some people have issues with gluten, where they have just a little bit. They go to church and they have one of those wafers. They can't get off. For some people, a little bit is too much. So kind of like cigarettes, you can't have just one. Or if you're an alcoholic, you can't just have one drink. It will set off a cascade of events. So we talked about, okay, so some people say, oh, well, we need the cholesterol from animal products. Where our bodies make cholesterol, we don't need to consume it. So the more animal products we consume, the higher our cholesterol levels become. So we reduce those levels, they get lowered. So there's You have a question?
No, we're looking at another hummingbird.
I mean, there's a doctor called Dr. Brooke Goldner. So she had lupus and she was a doctor and she didn't learn any of this. And her husband was a trainer and he said, your diet is horrible. You want to fit into your dress? Let's change it. Because I love you the way you are. I'll marry you no matter what weight you are. But I know you really want to lose weight and get into that really skinny dress. So he changed her diet. No cheese. She was a cheese lover. She ate fast food all the time. So he said, we're going to clean that up. Get rid of the dairy. And she said, well, I'm a vegetarian. I don't want to eat, animal meat. I know you're a trainer. And he says, yeah, don't eat it. Well, she was surprised. She not only lost all the weight, her liver function improved. All her symptoms went away. I mean, she was on chemotherapy. You can check out her story. She has incredible videos online. I really recommend you watching it. It's just amazing. So she was able to reverse lupus, and she didn't know it was possible. So now what she does is she has people reverse lupus. I'm getting bugs attacking me, and MS, multiple sclerosis. My father died from multiple sclerosis, and if I had known about this, I would have been like, you're coming home with me, I'm feeding you this, and there's no ifs, and or buts about it. So he could have lived a lot longer. There are people who have MS that were wheelchair bound. They changed their diets. They're able to go hiking. The wheelchair's gone. So that's just amazing. So I feel like I want to go out and just like tell everyone, you got to do this. But it's like, who am I? But people don't even believe they're doctors. And why should they? Because the doctors have just put them on medications anyways. But so there's a doctor called Dr. John McDougall. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's written the book called The Starch Solution. He had a heart attack at 18. And he became a doctor, obviously not at 18, but in Hawaii. And he noticed that he was giving all his patients medication, giving them standard advice, and they were getting sicker. And he thought, my goodness, what is going on? And he was taught that as people get older, they get more and more disease and they get sicker and sicker. But he found that in Hawaii, these Asians, they were Chinese, Japanese, Koreans, that the seniors were doing better than the youth. The kids were sicker than the adults. Well, he started looking into what were they eating. There's got to be, what were their lifestyles? Well, the Asians, they were eating the diet that their ancestors were eating, primarily from rice and vegetables. And what were the young people eating? They were eating the fast food. They were eating the McDonald's hamburgers and the French fries with oil and pizza, which is, the bread's actually fine, but it's the cheese and the sausage. And so he figured this out. I'm going to put my clients on a starch-based diet. Bunch of rice, lots of vegetables. They started losing weight and their heart disease started going away. His patients were getting better. Thousands, over 5,000 patients in his inpatient program were reversing their heart disease. I've seen people reduce their heart disease and get off their medications and diabetic medications and lower their blood sugars from, I believe it was 500 to 100 in 1 week. Now, not everybody, but if they go on an extreme and really go all in, you can do it. So that's just incredible. Okay, let's talk about the Mediterranean diet real quickly. So when people, they hear about certain things, Mediterranean diet, wine is so good, but they eat cheese and olive oil. Let's eat, this is the reason why they're doing so well. No. You're picking the foods that you want to eat more of. And you're saying this is why they're healthier. Well, the real reason why a Mediterranean diet helps people is because the diet is primarily not from fish and wine and cheese. It's from pasta and it's from vegetables. So that's like for people who love their pasta and their bread, you can do it. But now the people that are diabetic, if you just add the carbohydrates back to your diet, you will notice, oh my gosh, my blood sugar is higher. She or he was wrong. Carbs make me sick. Carbs make my blood sugar goes up. The reason why is the saturated fats are the problem. The saturated fats are in our body, and they don't allow the blood sugar to get into the cells because the cells are full of the saturated fats. So it's blocking. So fats take priority in the cells, so the glucose cannot get in. So once you reduce or eliminate those saturated fats from animal products, then the glucose can enter the cell. So that's how that works. So we don't need to eat any animal products to be healthy. You can eat them, but you don't have to if you don't want to. Now fish, they get their, fish we say, oh, we need the omega-3s from fish. The fish get their omega-3 fatty acids that are very, very helpful from algae. So, those vegetable sushi rolls, that's all. You get one of those a week. You can have a little shaker of the little nori flakes, or you can just get a supplement. So you don't need fish. The problem with fish too is it's so contaminated right now. That's all the pollutants that are tossed into our oceans. We're eating that. The plastics from plastic bags, they turn into little particles called microplastics. So when we eat fish, we're eating plastic. It's in our bodies. Everybody, babies, they have that in their bodies. So I used to eat fish, so I don't eat it anymore because of that, even small amounts. So, but that's just me. And they say for moms, don't eat fish because of the mercury. All fish contain mercury. Okay, so people say, oh, but in paleo, we should all do the paleo thing, right? Well, in paleo times, people ate beans, grains, animal organs. They drank animal blood. They barely lived to 40 years old, and they had high rates of heart disease. So while it is true that you can get better blood sugar control on a ketogenic diet or a Paleolithic diet, that you'll have lower blood sugar. True, you will lose weight, yes, but most people can't lose enough weight to where they're healthy, and their cholesterol levels go higher, and they have higher rates of heart disease. I've had people say, okay, well, my mom can't stick to this, this healthy diet, so she loves her meat and cheese, so we're just gonna do this diet. Well, what happens is usually I hear from these people within 6 months they have heart attacks and strokes, and their cholesterol levels just keep getting worse and worse. So you may have a good short-term outcome, but the long-term is they don't know. But I've seen it. A lot of us doctors have seen it. Is that people just get sicker and sicker, and you're just setting yourself up for more conditions later in life. All right, so let's go straight. Real quick, grains. Yeah.
Think of bone broth or chicken broth. I heard that's really good.
Yeah, that's not good. Those bone broths, no. Vegetable broth, make your own. Yeah, it's all marketing. When you see something that says high in protein, stay away from it. Grains, they do have anti-nutrients. If anyone's worried about them, you can soak them. But you don't have to eat grains or beans. But those anti-nutrients, they're actually called phytates, and they have been shown to protect us against cancer. So
are the fake meats bad for you or good for you?
Yes, those fake meats are almost and sometimes as bad as real meat because they are processed. They contain, oils, coconut oil, saturated.
Coconut oil's bad?
Oh yeah, it's a saturated fat. And we'll talk about that too. Good point. So soy, people say, oh, soy is terrible. So the soy that's terrible is the soy isolate. So you'll see isolated soy protein. Stay away from that. That is very, very harmful. Soy that's not that's not certified organic, it has so many chemicals in it. So if you're doing soy, organic soy, because it has glyphosate. Okay, I can never pronounce that word. Glyphosates, which are really bad for our gut. So stay away from that. Dairy milk, not soy milk, increases estrogen. So they've found in cultures that eat soy that isn't polluted with a lot of, pesticides, actually they have lower cancer rates. You look at Asia. So yeah, you can eat soy. So
what about alternative milks, like oat milk, almond milk?
Totally fine. Just look at the ingredients. A lot of those alternative milks, they have a lot of sugar in it, and I don't like the gums in there. That can damage some people's guts. So, but my husband loves his almond milk, and I make my own hemp milk, and I just use water and hemp, and I have a video on that, and it literally takes a couple minutes. It's so delicious. It only lasts 3 days because I don't put preservatives in mine. You can put a little salt.
Get the oat milk and the almond milk, that has no sugar.
Yeah, that's what I did.
I've been doing that.
But those,
It's like only 30 calories.
right? But those all have gums in it. Use it as an alternative.
I just put it in my coffee because it's really creamy.
Yeah.
But then like almond milk, I don't need something thick and creamy in my cereal, so.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about the calcium. So I've never had dairy my entire life except for accidental exposure, and they say, okay, well, we need the calcium. I remember one time I fell. I was roller skating back then. We didn't have rollerblades when I was a little girl. I was roller skating and I fell, and those stops in front of the cars that stop the car? I fell and I slammed my arm down. I just completely fell and I sprained my wrist. Well, if we really needed dairy, then my wrist should have broken into bits and pieces. It didn't. It was just a sprain. So the problem with dairy, it's too much calcium, and the animal protein is too much. We can consume too much calcium, too much protein in our diets. We weren't meant to eat that much. That's why the rates of disease and autoimmune have gone up, because we've been eating more and more. People started getting wealthier and wealthier and started eating more of the animal proteins, more dairy. So that's why you see more incidence of disease.
What about like probiotics from life culture and yogurt?
So the amount of probiotics in the yogurts are so minimal, it's like a drop in the bucket. For some people, they do find it's helpful, and for some people, it's detrimental. So there were issues. Years ago, I took a probiotic and I found it helpful. And then years ago, I took a probiotic and I ended up with a full body hives. Extremely painful. It felt like I got chickenpox again. So it's different for some people. They have different strains, but we really want prebiotics, and we get prebiotics with plant foods. And so those are helpful because everyone has good bacteria and bad gut bacteria in our guts. And so those are from plants that have fiber, especially cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, kale, baby greens. And we want a variety of those, and those will help us heal our bodies. So I wanted to show real quick. And so the standard American diet is also known as SAD. So I don't know if you want to, so it's like an unhappy face. So we're just going to put a little sad face. Standard American diet, okay? And we're just going to put plant diet, but it's really a plant-based diet. So standard American diet, 70% of the diet is meat and dairy. So that's a lot. Okay. So you might want to write this down. A health-promoting diet is 0 to 10%. So you guys can decide how much to eat. To promote health, you can go up to 10% and meat and dairy. Now it depends on you. Everyone's different. I mean, so if I ate dairy, I'd be vomiting, and it might not make it. So for me, it's a 0. Standard American diet, 5% of the calories come from vegetables. Only 5%. We need to eat for health 20% or more from vegetables. Standard American diet, we get about 5% of the diet from fruits. We need to consume 10% or more from fruit. So you guys can eat as much fruit as you want. There's no limits. If you're hungry, you can eat as much fruit. What's really exciting when I found out is on your body loves sugar, and we crave it because that is fuel for our brain. And if you eat any carbohydrate, it's really hard for your body to turn that into fat. So if you want to lose weight, what do you grab? Grab a carbohydrate. Even bread is okay. Pasta, fruit, unless you can't have gluten, don't do that. But obviously, the more natural you go, if you want to lose weight, fruit or vegetables is a better choice than obviously bread.
I've heard of people that went vegetarian and then they gain weight because they're eating all these carbs and chips and pasta.
Yeah, so the problem with that is that we want to choose carbohydrates that are low in fat. So what people do is they take the pasta and they add cheese. You just added a whole bunch of fat. They add bread with butter. You're adding fat. But if you just eat the bread without the butter, if you eat the pasta without the cheese, you're going to be okay. But those are concentrated calorie carbohydrates. So obviously, if you need to lose weight, I would prefer someone to steer toward the baked potato over the big plate of pasta, because the pasta, is this where you can have this much of the fruit and the vegetables. All right, the last one is starches. In the standard American diet, we eat 20% of the diet from starches. We're talking corn, beans, potatoes, and pasta. Okay, in a plant-based diet, we want to eat 60 to 70% from starches. The reason why, if you just eat fruits and vegetables, you're going to have to eat so much. And when people start this diet, they can't eat that much because you got to expand that tummy. And so and then if you're eating a lot of beans and you're not used to it, then it can be really hard when you've got that bad gut bacteria fighting against the good ones. And so we start slow. So we're going to start with the recommendations right now. All right, well, a little over, so I will try to hurry up. Okay, so what we want to do is add foods that improve our health. So we need plant foods because these are the foods that we need. We need not just macronutrients, the carbohydrates, the proteins, and the fats. That's what I used to concentrate on, protein and fat. We need the micronutrients. The micronutrients are the vitamins and the minerals that are needed to heal our body. If we don't have those, we don't heal. So what we need, and these are required for cellular repair. So every day, what I want you guys to do, this is put on your to-do list. Every day I want you to add certain things. I want you to add vegetables. I want you to add a salad every day. And I want you to add fruit. And I want you to drink at least 96 ounces of water a day. 96. So what that is, it's a pitcher of water about this big. Now, this is within, I'm tiny and I drink about 90 to 95. So I just bring this wherever I go. I'm like Linus with my water bottle, but this is, instead of my blankie, it's my water. This will also help with blood circulation and lowering that viscosity. When the blood gets too thick, our blood pressure goes up. We get lethargic. You had a question?
So for the percentages on the plant-based,
Yeah.
you put, so like say it's 20%, 10%, that's the minimum, right? You start with?
So for here, so this is what, yeah. So for here, I would say these are minimums. Like, there are people that are fruitarians and they primarily eat fruit and they're actually healthy, but they're 5 pounds of fruit a day. I tried it.
Eat nuts?
Some of them don't. Now, nuts are not required, but we will talk about the other things. So, yeah.
The minimum, but is there a maximum? Like you shouldn't go over this amount of fruits a day?
No, you can eat as much fruit as you want. You can eat as much. The starches, I wouldn't go over 70 because I really want the salads. The greens are the most important thing for cellular repair. Baby greens, so the salad. Now, some people are like, I don't like salad. So throw some of those greens in your stew. Throw some in your smoothie. Just have a little bit, hide it under your salad, your sandwich. Just add it every chance you can get. Okay.
What did you said to do 96 ounces of water, add 1 salad a day. What was the first thing you said?
Oh,
Second?
yeah, let me see what I wrote. Let's see. Fruits, vegetables, and actually what I also would love you guys to do is add a 1/4 cup of beans or legumes a day. So really, really important. That'll really help. And another thing I want you to do is add, you can ground flaxseed if you can. What it does is it helps with blood sugar control, lower triglycerides and cholesterol. When 4 tablespoons a day were tested for 3 months and people, the flax group ended up with a slimmer waist. This is from nutritionfacts.org. So
It has to be ground?
yes, because if you eat flax that's whole, it just goes right through. You get no nutritional. I know. So I have one of those coffee grinders. And so my husband said, I'm tired of my coffee tasting like your flax seeds. So he got me mine and he has his. But he makes...
Blended in my smoothie.
Yes. So what he does is he doesn't want to go through all those steps. So he likes chia. He doesn't like flax. So he puts a heaping tablespoon of chia seeds in his smoothie every day, and with his almond milk, and he uses hemp seeds. And he just throws tons of stuff in there, and his smoothie is like 500 calories. And he's a bigger guy. He weighs 180 pounds, so he's not heavy though. And so he eats that, and I'm doing an expedited repair because I want to get rid of all my conditions, and so I'm doing a 1/2 cup of ground flax every day. And I'll let you guys know, hopefully we'll get future meetings, how that goes. But so far, I'm really excited because I've already seen more muscle in my legs, and my fingers I think they look pretty good. So erythromelalgia, you can't really see it. This one's a little bit red, but yeah, no pain. So I'm
So 1/2 cup of...
a ground flax or chia, but don't start big. Start with a teaspoon, see how you are, because some people, their body can't handle big doses. Start with a teaspoon and then maybe a tablespoon, see how you do. And then you guys may not need as much
Are you
as
saying
me.
like just chia seeds with like almond milk or just put in the fridge overnight? It's like a pudding.
Yeah, no, this is interesting. So I asked my community of like educators, and they said you should really grind that too.
Oh, after you sprout it or before?
Well, like if you're sprouting stuff, you don't need to grind
if
it.
it's soaking, then it's expanding. Do you grind it before you eat that? Or
That's what they're saying. They're saying grind it and then throw it in there. Yeah. So there was something from nutritionfacts.org, an article that they sent me to read, and it says that you should, just to make sure to go ahead and grind that too. So yeah, so you can make a pudding. Okay, so the other thing we want to do is we want to add exercise every single day. Now you may hear 30 minutes. I'm sorry, that's not enough. 40 minutes a minimum of moderate exercise. Get that heart rate up, get that sweat going. I actually recommend, for best health and reduce back pain, is 30 minutes 3 times a day, after or before your meals. And we want to limit our meals, 3 to 4 meals a day, because what happens when we eat, our body spends our time digesting and not repairing. So even if we're eating completely healthy food, we're still, our body's like a factory. It produces byproducts that are unhealthy, that are toxic, that needs to be eliminated. And our bodies are really good at helping us heal, but if we keep eating, or people that eat all the time, their body spends most of the time digesting. And then if we are, there are people who have eaten standard American diet completely, this one. And so when they don't eat, they feel really bad and they think, I'm hungry. And when they eat, they feel better. The pain goes away. Well, what's happening is their body's detoxifying. And detoxing, like if you're an alcoholic, you start feeling sick. You need that drink. So you're on this diet, you need that food, and you feel better. So that becomes that cycle. So don't be afraid. You're not going to fly away if you don't eat. So it's okay. And you can skip meals. If you're not hungry, don't eat.
I have a quick question, and I might have to leave because I have a flight coming.
Yeah.
For exercise, what counts as exercise? Do you have to get your heart rate up? Can you do yoga, stretching, 40 minutes of what?
Yeah. So one is you definitely want to get your heart rate up, and you want to feel warmer. You don't have to sweat. So exercise could be playing ball with your child, running around the park, but it can't be doing the laundry. That's movement. People confuse movement with exercise. I'm moving, okay, I am stretching, but that's not really.
Walking enough?
Yes. No, enough, no. What?
Do you have to walk fast?
You have to walk. You don't have to walk fast.
Your heart rate at 120. Is that right?
I would just say everyone's a little different. So definitely get the heart rate up so you feel it, or you feel hot or warm. But you want to also incorporate some sort of weight training, resistance training, at least twice a week. So resistance training, let's all just do a couple little resistance training things real quick. So let's move. So resistance training, we can grab weights or not, but squats. So if I'm doing a squat, this is resistance, okay? So if I'm doing, and we should all be able to do lunges. And if you guys want to hire me for personal training, I'm available. Consultations. Push-ups. Obviously, most people can't do these full body push-ups. I just want to show you that a little person can do push-ups. Okay, this is push-ups. 20 maybe. You don't have to do it this way. Push-ups. These little things, you can do tricep dips. There's all sorts of things. So I have my mom do all sorts of different exercises on my site. I have exercise videos. So I want to give you guys some examples. Okay, so we want to reduce foods that contain cholesterol, saturated fats, oils, dairy, animal products like meat, chicken, and fish. We want to reduce the salt and the sugar. So easy meals you want to add to your diet. Like a smoothie with almond milk, 1 to 2 bananas, you can add some ice. That's an optional one, really simple. Another easy meal, oatmeal. So I cook it with water. I've found that milk does not make it taste better. Cook it with water. At the end, you finish it with your almond milk, okay? Then you can add your cinnamon, your walnuts, and your blueberries. Your nuts should not be roasted. They should be raw. You're adding, the oils are no good. Okay, other option, salad with mixed greens with mangoes, black beans, corn, and diced avocado. Now, if you're trying to lose weight, just limit your avocado. Avocados are extremely healthy, good, healthy fats. Another option, spaghetti with marinara sauce with a little bit of lentils. You know, you got your beans in there, just hide them in there. There's a vegan cheese called Nutritional yeast. It has no fat, you can add a little bit of salt, and it makes things creamy and it gives it that cheesy flavor. And you can get it at fortified with B12 if you like. Now, I was eating so much of this vegan cheese because I love it so much, my B12 numbers were over the top. So if you love it as much as me, you can get the ones that are not fortified.
What is it called?
It's called Nutritional yeast, and you can get it from Bragg's.
Oh.
That has it's the least expensive. There are ones that are seasoned, which are really, really delicious. They're this small, and I loved it so much. I was literally eating it with a tablespoon. Okay, movies to watch. We talked about the Game Changers and Forks Over Knives, fantastic. And there's a new one that just came out on Hulu called Dope Sick that talks about the pharmaceutical industry. Those are great. Okay, so
That one called the sugar film.
you know, that was good, but it didn't convince me to stop eating sugar. So, okay, so if you eat low meat, low dairy, low fat, you're more likely to be a healthy weight and have much lower rates of disease. Okay, so I think that's good. Oh, the oils, where's the oils? We want to reduce all oils. Oils damage our endothelial cells. They contribute to type 2 diabetes. Now, if you want to stir fry something, it's really easy. All you do is you take a quarter cup of anything. It can be white wine, cooking sherry, water, vegetable stock. You chopped up your onion, you just saute it with that, and you can stir fry it. Your meal will not taste any different, and you'll have saved so many calories. Now, olive oil, 1 tablespoon is 120 calories. It takes 24 olives to make that 1 tablespoon of olive oil. That is not normal. On a standard American diet, about a quarter cup of olive oil is consumed per day. We put a little bit of olive oil on our salad. We cook it in our food. You know, so that is almost 500 calories in oil alone, and that's like 96 olives. It's crazy. So that was not what nature intended. Now, you can eat olives, but try to stay away from not just olive oil, but all olives. So and then if you want more recipes, I've got here on my blog, and then I'll open it to Q&A now, and you can stay or leave. It's totally up to you. And you guys, yeah. Okay, great. All right, questions? I got
Planning to
answers.
do this regularly on Saturdays?
So what I wanted to do is it every week, so everybody, and we can do like little workouts and Q&As, and you guys bring your questions. Maybe we can even do some potlucks and share some healthy recipes. You know, what do you guys think?
I like that.
Yeah? What do you guys think? Yeah, maybe we can get some more people next time. So we'll do this next week. We'll see how many people show up, and then but give me your questions, you guys.
So you were mentioning about the olive oil.
Yes.
So what oil do you recommend for cooking?
0.
Oh, really?
We don't need to cook in oil. What you want to do is you just want to add a lot more seasoning. So
Butter?
no, because those are fats. We want to reduce our fats. There's fat even in blueberries. So we eat way too much fat. We want to limit it.